USA comes out of pool play as a top-ranked team. Here's how the bracket looks right now. The U.S. has Brazil up first. They also avoid some tough competition in Canada, Germany, and France, and would only see one of those teams in a potential gold medal match. All right, as I mentioned, Christine Williamson here from Malika. We have a full squad here. Ramona Shelburne. We got Tim MacMahon in the building, looking great. Love the tie. Great tie there. And of course, Brian Windhorst joining us live from Paris. Team USA practice this morning. Oh wait, so first I want to ask you this, Brian. How you're not in Lille anymore? How's Paris? How do you feel about? Are you going to miss Lille at all?
I will miss Lille because it's a beautiful place, but this basketball tournament, that bracket that you just showed, I believe is the greatest international competition we've ever seen in basketball, and I can't wait for it to start tomorrow.
You still got to be ready for your next opportunity because you don't know where it's coming from game to game. We've had a different leading scorer, 3 games in the pool play every game, but I know at a certain point, like somebody's got to get hot in a close game, and whoever it is, you got to be ready for your moment. So whether that's me, whether it's whoever, that's the challenge of this team, to be ready, because every other team has a pretty much defined pecking order of scoring.
All right, Wendy, obviously you're there in Paris. When you found out what Team USA has ahead of them, what was your reaction to the bracket?
Yeah, they got a pretty good draw. Now, this is one thing I got to explain real quick. It isn't a straight seeding. There's actually a draw that takes place, and your seed spot is what pot you're in. So long story short, the Team USA does end up on the opposite side of the bracket as Canada and Germany, who are the 2 undefeated teams in pool play other than them. Now, if you ask me, I still think Serbia is very dangerous to the U.S., and I know that's a tough sell because they've beat them by 20 twice already this summer. But if you look at the other side, France, Canada, and Germany, 3 very strong medal contenders. The Americans will only have to beat one of them to win the gold medal. So I guess it's a pretty good draw. By the way, the French are having some inter-team drama with some of their players talking back and forth with their head coach. So that's something to watch. One thing to point out about Serbia, and they got a tough situation with Australia, but Serbia was 0. Jokic was a 0 plus minus when they played the U.S. in that opening game of pool play. In the 9 minutes or 8 minutes, whatever it was, he was off the court. The score was 29-3. So if they play again, I don't think Jokic is going to leave the court too much, and so that's something to keep in mind.
I also thought Serbia looked really good against South Sudan. They needed to win that by a certain amount of points, and they really pushed the gas pedal down on that game. But I think if you're the U.S., you got to be so thrilled with this draw. Like, the 3 teams that you're worried about are all on the other side of the bracket, and I think you could not have asked for a better draw.
Certainly the most talented teams are on the other side of the bracket. I mean, when you look at Canada, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 10 NBA players on that roster. Obviously, with France, you've got Wemby and Gobert. Now, they've got issues. The backcourt's not so talented. No. That's a problem. And then Germany, the Wagner brothers. Dennis Schroeder's a phenomenal FIBA player, the defending World Cup champions. To only have to deal with one of those teams, that's a good draw for USA.
Wendy, I want to ask you this because you mentioned the fact that Serbia is a team that could kind of trip them up. What is the likelihood that Team USA doesn't make it out of this bracket?
I mean, I respect this competition. If you look at this, there's 13 NBA MVP trophies represented in this bracket. Now, most of them are on Team USA. 11 of the 15 All-NBA players from this past season are represented in this bracket. You have the Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama. You have the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. Like, this is a real challenge. They obviously are playing very, very well. One of the things I think that is they've got a great team spirit. They've got a great team-first attitude. They got 10 guys averaging 7 points. Nobody's averaging more than 10 shots a game. No, all those 10 guys, everybody's averaging at least 6. 3 different leading scorers, 3 different starting lineups. I think they got a lot going for them, but I respect this bracket a lot.
All right, let's narrow the focus a little bit. Team USA has to go through Brazil first. They play tomorrow. Here's what Steve Kerr said this morning.
Brazil is going to try to maul us on the glass. They're going to send a bunch of guys, just try to steamroll us in there and get offensive rebounds and kick out threes, that sort of thing. So we got to be prepared for their physicality. They know what's at stake now, and It's about being locked in every possession, multiple efforts. They're going to make some mistakes, but if they keep playing, they can challenge a shot, get a deflection, make a play. And if they're all flying around for 40 minutes, then we feel good about it.
The Americans are a perfect 9-0 all-time in the Olympics against Brazil, their second most wins against any opponent in Olympic play. And they're 27.5-point favorites to advance to the semis on Tuesday, according to ESPN Bet. So Team USA is a heavy favorite. Brian, what would be the recipe for a potential upset tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I think you see this in one-off games in the NCAA tournament, extra possessions and three-point shooting, and that's actually what Brazil specializes in. They're the number one offensive rebounding team left in the tournament. They average 13 of those a game. By the way, the U.S. is giving up 14 offensive rebounds a game. That is their weakest thing really on their whole statistical portfolio, and that is problematic. Also, the Brazilians have the number one three-point shooting team left on the books. They're averaging 45% on threes. That said, they are not, by comparison to the U.S., a very talented team. They do not shoot well inside the three-point arc, and they're really sort of anemic offensively other than that three-pointer. So this is definitely a team the U.S. can handle, but there's a couple of facets that they do well that the U.S. is going to be challenged, and that's what Steve Kerr has been really reinforcing the last couple of days.
So should be a little bit of a test. By the way, NBA Today will be a pregame show tomorrow for that Olympic matchup.